want to swing back to the artistic side of everything now and ask you to, if you don't mind, just play along a little bit. And if you think to yourself, the last big gig you had, or even just the last gig you had, maybe in Salt Lake, the lights are off, the crowd is cheering, waiting for you guys to come on. If you close your eyes and just think for a minute, you first sit down at your drum throne, what are the last few things that go through your mind and your emotions before that first opening note starts?
For me, it's to focus and relax and not jump out of the gate like you have to get to the finish line before everybody else. And then my whole idea is you have to play for yourself and you have to play for your band. Because if you're doing that and it's working, then it works for the audience. If you're only playing for the audience, if there's no communication between the musicians up on stage, then it no longer becomes a band, it becomes this other thing. So my focus always is to just sit there, relax, focus, and then start it right and end it right.
So is there somewhat of a training of the adrenaline when it comes to that?
I'm probably one of the most relaxed people backstage before we go on. I mean, I see some guys on the side of the stage, they look like they're going to go 10 with Tyson. And I just carefully sit there and conserve my energy, because once I know that I get on that stage, the minute I step on that stage, I am committed to giving 110%. So I'm not wasting any of it on the sidelines. None of it on the sidelines. I'm not throwing passes, I'm not doing anything. I'm just waiting for that downbeat.
That's great. Still on the artistic side, recently Frankie sent me a link to a project that he's got going. And the first thing that struck me, and I was joking by the way when I replied back saying I like the Boys to Men edge that had. Nothing against Boys to Men, but there's enough Boys to Men. Very fat, thick, yet tonal and melodic sound. It's very interesting to me that here we are in 2013, and you know, music goes through cycles, there's fads, there's flashes, there's all these things, but I love the fact that there is absolutely still a demand for what Quiet Riot's doing and what you're doing now with Acid to Blood. Can you kind of elaborate on that project a little bit for everybody?
Yeah, Acid for Blood is an interesting project because two of the members, the guitarist and the bass player, I've never met. They live in Sweden. So again, with the internet, you know, it makes it possible to do these things. And the singer, second guitarist is Paul Sabu, who's a phenomenal artist, a phenomenal singer and songwriter. So we got together and started working on tunes, literally doing demos back and forth over the internet, sending files. And when we finally got all the songs written the way we wanted them, I went into the studio by myself and put up the demo tracks to use as my click. It's a foundation, and I went in, I loaded in at 8 o'clock in the morning, got drum tones, sat down, and did 11 tracks. I was done at 7 o'clock that evening with a 1-hour sushi lunch. 7 o'clock that evening, tore down the drums, went home and made pasta for my daughter.
Wow, brilliance. Brilliant.
And I got to say, one of the things that made it easy for me to do it is, and I mean, if you listen to the drum sound, it's huge, and it's fat, and it's crisp, and everything. And that was the first time I went to the studio with my Canopus drum set. And I'm really, really happy with that kit because the people at Canopus made a signature set for me, but they made it, the shells are phenomenal. I can't say enough about the shells. There's 3-ply, African mahogany, poplar African mahogany with the wide maple re-rings. Those things just sing. I mean, they have a wonderful tuning range, but they hold their tuning in just a phenomenal set. I cannot say enough about it. I mean, unbelievable. Because when you sit down and things don't sound right, you're thinking more about what's not right than really giving 100%. But if you can go in there and you put your headphones on and you love what it sounds like, then you don't have to worry about that anymore, and all you have to do is just sit there and play.
It's another ingredient of inspiration. I'm sorry, it's another ingredient of inspiration as well.
Well, what it does is it pushes me to do things that maybe I wouldn't have done. In the demos, I play everything very basic when I'm doing the demos because it gives the rest of the guys in the band the opportunity to focus just on the beat and do what they do. But once they do that and I go into the studio, there are things and drum fills and different changes that I do while not interfering with what they've laid down, but it just gives it another lift. And a lot of that has to do, if I'm hearing something and it sounds great, I'm not afraid to try it. I just go for it.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit more about Canopus. Do you use the same kit and the same setup and the same snare drums in the studio versus live, or does it depend on the studio project or live project?
Well, the kit itself, I have two kits. They're both identical to each other. The only difference is one is in green sparkle and the other one's white marine pearl. And I've used both of them live and I've used both of them in the studio. And it's the exact same configuration. It's really old school, no deep, extended shells. 14 by 26 kick, 10 by 14 rack, 16 by 16, 16 by 18 floor tom with a 6.5 by 14 snare. So both the kits that I use live in the studio are identical, interchangeable. The snare drum changes depending on what song I'm playing and what I need out of it. So I have a variety of Canopus snare drums. They have a Zelkova wood snare drum that it's cut from the trunk. They hollow it out. So there are no plies, there's no seams.
It's all unitary, it's one piece?
All one piece, and it's 200-year-old wood.
That's how taiko drums are made, the biggest taiko drums.
Well, to some degree, some of those are stave, whereas this isn't stave, but this is just one solid shell, and that thing is phenomenal, and it just sings. It's phenomenal. I cannot say it. I take it to bed with me.